Live from KSAT 12, the Nightbeat starts right now.
Had a very important weather event over the last 24 hours.
Beryl may be moving out of Texas, but the damage has been done. Several killed, millions still without power at this hour after that storm made landfall this morning. We'll have a look at the aftermath and how San Antonio is helping out coming up. But first, how do we keep San Antonio cool and whether streets are the only answer to that? The city expanding efforts behind something called Cool Pavement. They could be coming to your neighborhood. The Night Team's Avery Everett looks at San Antonio's Cool Neighborhood program.
It's just hot. There's nothing we can do to Mother Nature about that.
Summer in San Antonio is only heating up.
It's gotten hotter.
It's very, very warm.
But the city may have a solution in its Cool Pavement program. What started as a pilot last summer for San Antonio streets is now turning into a neighborhood-wide project.
We're trying to make sure that residents are able to sustain and just get through these hot summers.
In phase one, the city paved 10 roads, like this one here on Moore's Inn. You can actually see the difference between what's not been treated and what has been treated. That's why phase two focuses in on neighborhoods to help pave connected streets like Moon and Glen, and also add trees and other shade systems to help decrease heat across the board.
A UTSA study found city council districts 2, 3, and 5 to be the hottest in San Antonio. Lifelong residents say that's not surprising.
How has this area changed in the last 47 years?
A lot.
People walk around a lot here. The kids walk from school. It's just, it's too dangerous.
That's why the city is turning to these communities to talk about the heat. The first one in District 3 was Monday night. Dozens of people showed up to weigh in on the problem.
We need shade everywhere, like on the streets.
An online survey will also be open until the end of July. But this conversation is far from finished in the city of San Antonio.
It's a whole city approach to making sure that we can get through summers a little easier.
Avery Everett, KSAT 12 News.
Whatever works. A meeting in District 5 is scheduled for Saturday, and a meeting in District 2 is set for next Tuesday. Details on where and when are on KSAT.com right now.
And speaking of the heat, due to the lack of, unfortunately, rainfall that we really just didn't see across our neck of the woods from Beryl today, take a look at high temperatures. We reached 98 here in San Antonio. A lot of triple digits out there, especially out west on Highway 90 and farther off to the south as well. It was 100 in Pleasanton, 101 in Hondo, 103 was the high temperature in Del Rio. Still going to be hot here in San Antonio tomorrow, a high in the upper 90s, right around 97. This time, though, we will introduce a 40% potential to find some scattered to spotty showers and a few thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon to early evening. We'll have more on that in just a little bit. In the meantime, here is the latest on Beryl. It continues to weaken, now down to just a tropical depression status. Winds sustained at 35 miles per hour. It is moving out of Texas, still though a threat for some severe weather across portions of Arkansas as the system continues to work away from the Lone Star State. Still sparking a little bit of rain, though, weakening through the overnight. We're going to get you a full recap of what parts of the Texas Gulf coastline and southeast Texas saw from Beryl after it made landfall earlier this morning, coming up a little bit later on. Steve.
I looked up and my roof was gone. Stuff started flying off the walls, zinging around the house.
As we continue to get a sense of the aftermath of the storm, it could have been a stronger hurricane, but even as a Category 1 hurricane, Beryl proved tragic for some. Tonight, ABC News reporting at least 6 people killed in the storm, either by falling trees or by drowning. We also know there are more than 2 million people in East Texas who are still waiting for the power to be turned back on. The storm hit land as a Category 1 hurricane, leading to heavy flooding and dramatic high water rescues. Look at that one right there. Coastal communities have spent the day cleaning up Beryl's debris. One of the areas that was hit the hardest, Matagorda. That's just southwest of Houston on the Texas coast. Buildings missing shingles, missing metal roofs. Homes along the bay had siding ripped off, bent garage doors, broken branches scattered around, and farther out in the county, others took drastic measures to try and prevent destruction. One man actually cut down this massive 50-year-old tree to avoid the winds pushing it onto his house.
It had high winds before, and it was making noise and rubbing noises, and I thought it was time for it to go.
As crews continue to clean up, the Matagorda County spokesman says much of the damage seems to be along the coastline. And as is usually the case, San Antonians helping in various ways. Tomorrow morning, CPS Energy crews headed to Houston to help with those power outages we talked about, hoping to help get power restored. The San Antonio Salvation Army sending aid to Wharton, Texas. That's about an hour from Houston.
Our primary focus is on feeding, hydration, and the emotional spiritual care needs that those impacted have.
Area Commander Joshua Robinette says San Antonio crews will spend the next 2 weeks helping people recover. They're sending at least 2 vehicles. These are the first 2 to go. The disaster canteen, essentially a kitchen on wheels, and the rapid response unit, which can get to people who are trapped by fallen trees and power lines, both designed to get into disaster-stricken areas easily. The local Red Cross, another group that's getting involved and stepping up to help. Volunteers now on their way to the Houston-Galveston area. Today on our KSAT Q&A segment, we welcome Dr. Daniel Martinez back, the executive director of our local Red Cross. We spoke about the damage that's already been done and the best steps moving forward.
Unfortunately, we were discussing the loss of life that's already occurred and the other major devastation. And so now it's our job as humanitarians to go in and provide as many resources as we can. The devastation isn't maybe as great as some of the previous hurricanes, but it's still devastating.
Yeah, that was just a portion of our conversation. You can watch the full interview right now on KSAT Plus. And if you want to help the Red Cross, you can go to their website, which is redcross.org, or you can call the number on your screen. 1-800-RED CROSS. Volunteers and money are what they really need tonight. Now to the search for some murder suspects, or at least they know what happened. Have you seen these 2? San Antonio police say they are the suspects connected to the deadly shooting at a Sonic last night. 33-year-old Daniel Shrewsbury, a manager at that restaurant, killed in a shooting. It happened just before 10 o'clock last night on Babcock Road near Huebner and the Medical Center on the northwest side. Police say Shrewsbury got into an argument with a woman in the drive-thru. That customer ended up pulling out a gun and shooting him. He would later die at the scene. Earlier today, we caught up with customers who frequent this Sonic location.
I just can't even imagine the terror. It just makes me sad for all the employees, as well as the person that decided to do such a horrible thing.
Again, if you know these 2 people or have any idea where they could be tonight, please call police at the number on your screen, 210-207-4804. They may be the keys to solving this murder. Now to a critical week for President Joe Biden's political future. Pressure mounting for him to step down as the Democratic nominee. House Democrats set to meet tomorrow to discuss the path forward. It's a conversation that was sparked following the first presidential debate on June 27th. President Biden appearing to lose his train of thought several times during his face-to-face against former President Donald Trump. Many left with concerns over President Biden's ability to take back the White House come November, many Democrats. A handful of House members have actually publicly called for Biden to withdraw from the race.
This decision not only impacts who's going to serve in the White House the next 4 years, but who's going to serve in the Senate, who's going to serve in the House, and it will have implications for decades to come.
Meanwhile, President Biden has maintained that he will not drop out of the race for president and says he is the best candidate to take on former President Trump. In a letter to congressional Democrats today, the president wrote in part, quote, "I want you to know that despite all the speculation in the press and elsewhere, I am firmly committed to staying in this race," end quote. And looking ahead, President Biden will soon be actually making a trip to Texas just up the road. Happening 1 week from today on July 15th, the president will be at the University of Texas at Austin campus delivering a keynote address at the LBJ Presidential Library to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. President LBJ Lyndon Baines Johnson signed it into law on July 2nd, 1964. He's assigned to protect San Antonio Police Chief William McManus, but KSAT investigates obtained records showing Officer Mark Castillo exchanged sexually explicit text messages with a woman during his assigned work hours and sometimes while in close proximity to Chief McManus. The text discovered on the woman's phone by her husband, who called police to report the affair, only to then be charged with domestic violence himself. SAPD officials declined to comment on this case since there's still been no determination on whether Castillo will actually be disciplined. The man's attorney says this should be a simple investigation.
Anybody who's doing that on work hours is brazenly wasting our tax dollars. They're violating all kinds of rules that they shouldn't be allowed to violate.
Tomorrow night on the Nightbeat, KSAT investigates the latest member of the chief security detail to be accused of inappropriate sexual behavior while in uniform and the path of personal destruction this incident has left in its wake. It's tomorrow night.
We're on the goal line, yeah, and there's no other option but to put it in the end zone.
Mayor Ron Nirenberg using sports analogies when talking about the airport and the possibility of a new nonstop. What San Antonio International is about to score and how you can help. It's next on the Nightbeat. I want to get to a recall for parents to be aware of tonight. Power adapters for nearly 1 million Hatch baby sound machines have been recalled. The adapters were sold with the Rest first generation sound machine. According to Consumer Reports, the plastic coverings over the adapters could come off. So far, there have been at least 2 reports of minor electrical shocks. The sound machines were sold between January 2019, September 2020 on Hatch's website and at multiple retailers, including Amazon and Target. Hatch says all the owners will be contacted directly. A generous donation to the Ella Austin Community Center that may help bridge the digital divide. The Code Equity and SA Digital Connects teams donating 20 laptops to that center. Campers at the Summer Extravaganza Camp will now get the chance to learn about software coding. The computers will also be available for anyone in the community to use at the Ella Austin Community Center.
The city has been asking, requesting, and for lack of a better word, begging for an opportunity to connect this city to Washington Reagan National.
The news conference only lasted a few minutes, but they were talking nonstop. It's a goal that's another step closer to being realized. City leaders have been trying to get a nonstop flight greenlit from San Antonio to Washington, D.C., Reagan Airport for many years. A press conference held today at City Hall to discuss those ongoing efforts. American Airlines has partnered with the city to pursue the flight route and is in the process with the U.S. Department of Transportation to try to initiate that nonstop service.
Our focus now is just to, get it over the end zone and make sure that we, again, can facilitate the connection between our military community and DCA, the business community, and the Washington region. Efficiency for the traveling public in San Antonio. All these reasons are important to finish the job here with regard to DCA to SAT, and we just want to get the job done.
The mayor went on to say if San Antonio is selected, he expects the flights to D.C. to quickly be up and running. So now the city needs positive public comment to move forward with this deal. Everyone invited to submit a comment between now and next Wednesday. Want to know how you can do that? We have a link to where you can leave a comment right now on KSAT.com. I think I said it earlier, Mia. I was looking longingly to the east and seeing the cloud formations, and I'm like, they're getting some good rain there, but for some it was just too much.
Yes, too much of a good thing. I wish that us in San Antonio and surrounding areas were able to tap into just a little bit of rain from Beryl today, but the center of that storm just passed too far off to the east. I mean, it's incredible when you look at these tropical systems, just a matter of miles can really determine who gets the good rain, who gets little rain, and who gets too much of that rain. Let's take a look at all of that. A recap of Beryl, again, making landfall around 4 a.m. this morning as a Category 1 hurricane near Matagorda Bay. Here in San Antonio, not much to show for it. Across our northern counties, still not much to show for it. A trace of rain still across the eastern reaches of our area, but you can see where all of that purple is really located and pinpointed near the Houston area, stretching up to the Woodlands and even Galveston. That's where it became too much of a good thing. 6 to 10 inches of rain fell in a short amount of time, leading to a lot of those flooding issues, unfortunately. Here's the thing. That area, deep southeast Texas, even East Texas, that also saw rain as Beryl moved inland throughout the day, not in drought. For us here in the Alamo City, we are in moderate drought. It gets even worse west of I-35, pockets of extreme drought across the hill country and near the Rio Grande, near Del Rio. And things were just pretty dry out there today because we were too far west from the center of that storm. Thankfully, though, on the flip side of things, we didn't have to deal with the flooding and we didn't have to deal with damaging wind gusts. Take a look at some of the peak wind gusts reported since midnight near the coast and the Houston area. Freeport recording a 97-mile-per-hour wind gust right as Beryl was making landfall. Downtown Houston, 89 miles per hour. Houston's Hobby Airport, 84. Victoria, just off to our southeast, still tropical storm force at about 47 miles per hour. That was their peak wind gust. Of course, you can see conditions getting much better across southeast Texas and even near College Station, the Metroplex, Tyler, as well as Beryl continues to weaken, now down to that tropical depression status. It's going to continue working its way across Arkansas through the overnight hours. By 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, places like Little Rock, Fort Smith, even Branson, Missouri, still dealing with some of that rain, but it weakens into a remnant low and it will continue to work its way away from the Lone Star State throughout the day. So what about us? When can we expect a few more rain chances to return to the forecast locally? Well, tomorrow we do have a 40% potential to find some spotty showers and a couple of isolated thunderstorms, specifically in the afternoon, before just isolated chances continue by Wednesday and through the second half of the week. Here's a look at your futurecast. I think throughout the first half of our Tuesday, we are pretty dry and quiet out there, but watch what happens. This is 2:30 p.m., especially west of I-35 across portions of the hill country near Lakey, Rock Springs, even Concan. A few isolated showers and downpours could develop. It's not going to be for everybody, but notice your timeline here. By the evening commute, if you do manage to cash in on a few of these downpours, reduced visibility possible for some of us, as well as a few soggy spots out there on area roadways. So we'll continue to keep you posted on that throughout tomorrow evening before all of that comes to an end by this time tomorrow night. Other than that, here's your KSAT 12-hour forecast. Partly cloudy skies, 7 a.m. starting off near 75 degrees here in San Antonio. 90 already expected for any lunchtime plans at noon. And then now we bumped up our forecast high to 97 here in town, again with a 40% chance for some hit or miss showers and storms. 96 on Wednesday, a 30% chance for rain there as well. Steve, isolated all the way through the first half of the upcoming weekend with highs still in that mid-90 degree range. Until then, let's head outside with live cam. 91 right now, so it is still pretty warm out there. We were talking about that at the start of the newscast with the lack of rain. It was still just a summer scorcher as folks to our east were dealing with all of the impacts from Beryl.
That's why I'm hoping the storms tomorrow are more hit than miss.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, thank you. All right. He is such a huge part of the Cowboys lineup. You got to think they're going to make a deal before camp starts.
Yeah, you really do. And we finally heard from CeeDee Lamb about his contract negotiations, but unfortunately it's more of him saying, I don't really want to talk about it at all, so don't ask. We'll have more on CeeDee Lamb and his extension coming up. And Team USA is on the court getting in reps. We'll hear how the players feel about serving different roles than they're used to after the break. Dallas Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb is hosting his youth football camp in Round Rock this week. And if you thought maybe Lamb will talk about his ongoing contract negotiations, well, Lamb says think again. The three-time Pro Bowler says he will not be answering any contract-related questions when he comes face-to-face with media. Lamb has not publicly spoken about his contract since Minnesota's Justin Jefferson reset the receiver market with his record deal, and it doesn't sound like that'll change this week. It's becoming less and less likely we will see Lamb at training camp. Both Ezekiel Elliott and Zach Martin held out into camp in past summers, and the Cowboys eventually gave both players what they wanted before the season started.
Hey, what's up, Spurs fans? Just want you guys to know how excited I am to get to San Antonio. I would have never thought in a million years that I'd get an opportunity to play for Pop, but I'm so excited about this young and talented team. Cannot wait to get there and get to work and see what we got a chance to do. All right, hope you guys are well. Go Spurs. Peace.
19-year NBA veteran Chris Paul sounds excited to wear silver and black threads next season. Coming to the Alamo City from California, as is NBA champion Harrison Barnes, whose deal was made official today. In the process of acquiring both veteran guards, the Spurs had to waive Charles Bassey. However, reports say the former St. Anthony Yellow Jacket will likely be brought back by the team if the 23-year-old clears waivers. Well, this afternoon, the U.S. Olympic men's basketball team scrimmaged the USA select team. Incoming Duke freshman Cooper Flagg made headlines with his performance, but the scrimmage also unveiled the star-studded Olympians need every chance at a tune-up they can get before the Paris Games. Team USA's first test will come against Canada in a friendly on Wednesday, and much curiosity surrounds what the starting rotation will look like with a roster jam-packed with all-star talent.
It's a great problem to have when you have so many great players, but we're all making sacrifices for being here and understanding, what it means to represent Team USA. So none of us are looking forward to going out and trying to carry the team like we sometimes have to do for our respective franchises. No one is looking forward to us coming in and scoring 30 or having to get 17 rebounds. Oh no, we want to play for each other. There's 11 other guys beside me that I want to play for, and vice versa. Our only goal is to win a gold medal and represent Team USA with the utmost respect, and we're all delighted and excited to be here.
Can't wait to see it all unfold. All right, coming up after the break, behind Jaylen Cooper's decision to commit to SMU. Stay with us. As we get closer to the start of the high school football season, more and more student athletes in the area are announcing their college commitments. For Steele High School wide receiver Jaylen Cooper, he announced that he's committing to Southern Methodist University. Our Nick Mantis spent time with Cooper today to learn the reason behind his decision.
When you have too many highlights to choose from and offers from schools all over the country like Texas A&M and Baylor, we had to know what made Jaylen Cooper decide to take his talents to SMU.
Whenever I went to the visit, Coach Redd, Coach Jenkins, Coach Likens, they all pulled me in office and they watched my film, which was pretty cool. I'd never seen this film that they had about me, and just seeing it, it was like, dang, they really, look deep into what I got to show.
Most schools during recruitment want to make somebody like Jaylen feel as comfortable and at home as possible. But when it comes to Jaylen's decision, it was not just about the team he's going to be playing for, but also the level of competition he's going to be going up against. And now that SMU is part of the Atlantic Coast Conference, that played a huge role in Jaylen's decision.
I looked at SMU's schedule this year, and they're playing, Miami, Florida State, Duke, Cal. Those are all good teams. So, the SEC's all great and everything, but ACC is just as good. And I feel like if I want to, be out there, it's a perfect place to be. The coaching staff's going to be there for a while. I feel they can, develop me to the best I can, to the best ability I can, and I feel like I have the best shot of going to the NFL there.
Nick Mantis, KSAT 12 Sports.
Good luck to everyone keeping track of the realignments next year.
Yeah.
Of the conferences.
Yeah, and congratulations to the parents that have talented kids that can get their way paid through college.
Yes.
Thanks, Mary. We'll be right back.
As Texas continues to say goodbye to Beryl here in San Antonio, a few showers and a couple of thunderstorms will be possible tomorrow afternoon, especially after 2 p.m. If you don't tap into any of that activity, expect it to still be a hot afternoon with the high around 97 here in San Antonio. Mid-90s continue throughout the remainder of the week, even into next weekend, Steve, along with a few more isolated rain chances.
Bring on the rain. We need it. Thank you, Mia. That does it for the Night Beat. Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow.